Life is a process. In fact, life is many different processes, all running at the same time. The 7 life processes are movement, sensitivity, growth, feeding, respiration, excretion, and reproduction. Some of these life processes are very fast, but some of them are slow. Some take place on a microscopic level, and some take place over the whole universe. An example is reproduction. Everyone knows that a sperm fertilizes an egg. And sometimes it's important to know the various cell parts, but oftentimes not. Growth is a key life process. Before and during childbirth and all the way up to adulthood, a human being grows. And eventually, they mature enough that they might fall in love and begin the reproductive process all over again. But you can also think about it on a different scale, on the scale of the cell. A fertilized egg undergoes a certain other type of growth, and this growth is dependent on chemical processes that take place inside the cell. A cell is kind of a complicated entity. There's many different cellular organelles, but not all of them are important to know right now. But what is important to know is that there's chemical processes ongoing inside the cell. Very complex chemical processes which lead to cell division and a form of growth that we can see, the development of a fertilized zygote into an embryo. But when we take a closer look, there's another kind of growth. It seems like that development is present. And if we compare the development of humans to those of other animals, we can start to understand what is life on a larger scale in terms of the interrelatedness of living creatures. One thing all living creatures have in common is feeding, where on Earth, plants get their energy from the sun, and the plants themselves are consumed. And eventually these consumers are decomposed, and those nutrients are recycled to the plant. Life processes depend on and interact with non-living processes. After all, we live on Earth, and the surface of the Earth is covered with mostly water, about 75% water. And the water cycle is important because, all living creatures need water, and how water interacts with the Earth gives us our ecosystems, and various creatures thrive in different ecosystems. Plate tectonics is a very slow process that over time creates ecological niches and habitats for living creatures. You probably know that the Earth's crust is made up of different plates, and that these plates are busy crashing around and crashing into each other. A long time ago, all of the Earth's continents formed one supercontinent called Pangaea. And one of the interesting things that you find is that in fossils dated from this time period, in South Africa and Africa are identical or very similar. And that's because a very long time ago, those areas, those tectonic plates were close to one another. So far as we know it, life exists only on planet Earth. But how did planet Earth get here? Well, the universe is made up of stars, which are mostly hydrogen. But deep within stars, a lot of high temperature and high pressure causes different nuclear reactions to produce the heavier elements, like carbon and iron and other things. Eventually, the stars go supernova and explode, and they spread the material throughout the universe. And this heavy material, contains a lot of mass, and simply due to the mass, it collects onto itself. It's called a process called accretion, and eventually over time, a primordial Earth was formed. And the interesting thing is that the Earth is still hot down there. We know this because we have plates that move around on the surface of the Earth. Volcanic activity and weather patterns have shaped the Earth as we know it into a multitude of tiny ecological niches and habitats. Life as we know it on Earth is a series of interrelated processes taking place at the same time.